Not.
Okay, so we can move past item 2 on the agenda. Please note that this meeting was duly posted, and we do have a quorum this evening. So, moving on to number 3, public hearings, regular agenda, and non-consent. Item A, consider and act upon meetings from July 21st, 26, regular meeting, and the August 7th, 2026, work session of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make a brief note. The agenda was posted somewhat unorthodox this month. As you've noticed, all the items on the agenda are on the public hearing and/or regular agenda. So there being a lack of a consent agenda, we will be considering items one by one, starting with minutes. Minutes were provided to the commission ahead of the meeting. They're also available on your laptop. Answer any questions if you should have any related to the meeting minutes as presented.
Commissioners? Anything on the minutes? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the line A.
I'll make a motion to approve Agenda 3A.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, consider and act upon a plat for the J. Kincaid Edition, being a .4 acre tract of land located on the northwest corner of North Dallas Avenue and Texana Street, subject to conditions. Alex, I understand you're going to stay up there all night?
Yes, sir. Okay. It's one of my many dreams in life. Yes, sir. To follow up on the statements I just made, there are a number of plats on your agenda this evening. As the agenda was posted, some of these will require public hearings and other plats will not. As stated in the staff report, the subdivision ordinance does require replats, a public hearing to be held for replats. And so as we go through, I'll brief the commission on each of the plats, noting which ones require public hearing and which don't.
Fair enough.
Back to item 3B, the Kincaid Edition. This is a request for a replat, which does require a public hearing. As you stated, the property is located at the northwest corner of Dallas and Texana. The intention is, with this replat, is to subdivide a 0.4 acre tract of residential property into 2 lots. The subject property is located, the plat is located on the left side of the screen, and you can see an aerial image of the subject property proposed to be subdivided on the right. This particular property and the subdivision as proposed does meet the standards of the SF1 and original downtown overlay district standards of the city subdivision and zoning ordinance, and thus staff recommends approval as submitted. I'm glad to answer any questions prior to the public hearing.
Okay. Do we have the owner in the audience, the requester? Okay. Okay, would you like to address this? State your name.
Those that don't know me, I'm Crystal DeBacker. I'm at 121 Winchester Street in Van Alstyne. So what's happening is the original lot lines are being restored. What's on that property is a shop. They're not subdividing it to build anything. They're actually selling it to the person that's buying the Dogwood Ridge Estates property. It just makes more sense.
Okay. Okay, at this time, if there's nothing else from the developer or city, then I will open the public hearing on this issue at 6:34. Anyone wish to speak on or against this proposed situation? Second call for those to speak on this public hearing. Third and final call. Hearing none, the public hearing on this agenda item will be closed at 6:34.5. So anything from commissioners?
I actually have several questions I may have for you and on with. My first thing is, you were talking about earlier how it meets the subdivision requirements of SF1.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so SF1 is an obsolete.
Yes, sir.
So if we're going to replat, we cannot use obsolete. I understand that we can't use zoning to do new plating or new zoning. Is that affected by that or not? I'm just curious how that works.
So the existing legal zoning on the property is SF1, and this plat doesn't change that. Provided it meets all the standards of the current zoning, then the plat should be approved. If there was a deviation to the standards it couldn't meet and it required to be rezoned or something along those lines, staff wouldn't support rezoning it back to an SF1 to perpetuate that old obsolete district. We would be looking to do a current residential zoning district in its place. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Mark, further, this is also part of the original overlay district for the Old Town.
yeah, I know. Which is
So-
also-
Well,
I'm just saying that.
yes and
that's
no.
why-
I mean, we're continuing, we're
It's
continuing
still
part of it.
obsolete as of right now.
Right, okay,
And that's why I wanted to ask that we weren't going to get into a situation here.
right.
So the other thing is, so you had mentioned that they were going to buy it as part of another property, but my concern is if we are going to be plotting both plats as SF1, correct? Both pieces would become SF1.
Yes, sir. The lot lines are independent of the zoning district, but you're right. The two resulting lots would retain the current existing zoning.
Okay, so then my concern is the building that is on the west property line sits right against the property line, which means it probably would not meet setback standards or replat where that building is. So that's why I'm concerned about where that building is as opposed to a setback. How are we looking at that building?
So, and in this district, a side yard setback would be 5 feet, according to the overlay. For existing structures, it would be considered a legally non-conforming structure provided it encroached the setback. And so if that building were to exist as it is today, it would be legally non-conforming according to that setback encroachment. So that structure couldn't be expanded,
Altered?
altered
Okay.
more than 50% of its value without having to come into complete conformance with all the standards that are in.
Okay, thank you. Because my concern was if we do this and then somebody buys it, then they up against, with that building, we want to change. That's why I want clarification.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they do, if somebody does buy that property separate from the other property, it continues with the SF1 zoning, and if that building were to come down to build another residence on it, that residence would have to conform to SF1, correct?
Yeah, if they were going to construct a new structure, would have to meet standards. If they were to modify that or anything, it would have to be modified to meet current standards.
That's what I thought, okay. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion if there's no further discussion.
Make a motion to recommend approval of item 3B.
Okay, I have recommendation from Mark to approve line B. Do I hear a second? Second. Second from Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, consider and act upon a plat for First Quick Check Edition, being a 1.5 acre tract of land located on the northeast corner of Waco Street and Van Alstyne Parkway, subject to conditions. Alex?
This is a request for a replat to merge numerous tracts of property into one lot. And this is, as you stated, for the Quick Check located in the northeast corner of Van Alstyne Parkway and Waco Street. As you can see on the left side of the screen, it shows the new proposed property boundary that encompasses various tracts of land, the various tracts of land which you can see on the right side of the screen. The proposed city staff has received a request for a parking lot expansion on the east side of the property that is owned by Quick Check. I've highlighted the area where it shows there's newly proposed concrete pavement, and you can see that area grayed out, which is underneath that particular label. The city engineering staff currently has paving, drainage plans under review. This plat would effectively create the lot lines. However, construction couldn't commence until engineering department has finalized their review of as I stated, the drainage and paving plans and so forth. Those are currently under review. This plat does meet the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, and staff does recommend approval. There is no site plan in this case because there is no vertical structure that is associated with this particular replat. I'd gladly answer any questions you have prior to the public hearing.
Do we have a representative from Quick Check here in attendance?
I don't know.
Okay, did you want to address the board? It's up to you. You don't have to, but you were welcome to.
Let's just say it's pretty
Well, you may get some questions.
Thank you, Council. My name is Roger Brown, 714 Davenport Road, Sherman, Texas. I am the install of the concrete.
Okay. Anybody from the audience? Oh, wait, we got to do the public hearing officially. Okay, so nothing from Kent City or engineer. We're going to close that portion. We're going to move into a public hearing on this item at 6:41. Chair opens the public hearing for any public comments regarding to this issue. Anyone want to speak again about this topic? Second call for anyone to speak on this topic. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 6:42 and open it up for commissioners. Anybody?
This is just purely concrete.
Yes.
So my questions are, to do perimeter or parking lot lighting?
It's pretty bright now in that area. If need to be, we can. There's some power poles that we're going to build an island around with curb and some ballards. That power's pretty heavy power. It's going to stay there. Doing a curb along the east fence with a setback from the fence where nobody can tap the fence with some probably some planter grass or something there.
Are you going to do screening on that side?
There's already screening on the east side
Alex, I
and the south side. Screening on south and east. The north end is open.
so since this is under consideration, part of the new expansion, that affect this at
No, because there's no structures really. Yeah, I don't think. I do have a question. The center section, you said there were some ballards and some curb or whatever. Are those parking places that are going perpendicular?
Correct.
That doesn't leave a lot of room to back and park, does it? I'm just wondering if those should not be angled.
I think the lines stop way further up. It carries out with those numbers, but I think it stops way short of that. Gus here can probably explain it
I
better.
mean, it just looks like to me that they should be angled like the other ones.
Well, those one is perpendicular. They have about 20 foot. And between the end of that 20
From line to
foot-
line,
Yeah.
there's 20 feet?
Well, the parking lot require 9 foot by 20 itself. And then the other side, it is on 45 degrees. And then between them, you have like 25, 27 foot.
Okay, it just looked awfully narrow to me.
Well, it's such a small scale, that's why it is.
Any further discussion from commissioners? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion. To accept, okay? We have a motion to accept from Jonathan. Any second?
Second.
Michael second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number D, consider and act upon a plat for Cold Springs Industrial Park Phase 2, being a 16.3 acre tract of land located on the east side of Industrial Parkway north of County Road 377, subject to conditions. Alex?
This is a request by the city and specifically the Economic Development Corporation to replat 2 lots in the industrial park in Cold Springs Industrial Park, specifically to modify an existing lot line. So as you can see on the plat on the left, the The intention behind the replat is to move the property line to the northward to create a 10-acre tract of land out of the current 2 properties. This plat meets city standards. Glad to answer any questions prior to public hearing.
Okay. Anybody from the developer?
Me.
I had to throw that out there. Okay, so with that, I will open the public hearing on this topic at 6:46 PM. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to address this topic? Second request for anyone who would like to address this topic. Hearing none, I consider the public hearing closed at 6:46.5. And we will move on to commissioners' discussion. Any discussion on this topic? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a recommendation that we approve item 3D.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Larry seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item E, consider and act upon a plat for Coal Gridiron Addition, being an approximately 8.6 acre tract of land located on northwest corner of Waco Street and Blasting Games, subject to conditions.
Thank you very much. This item does not require a public hearing as it is a final plat. This is the plat associated with the current public safety facility, which is currently under construction by the city. There is a previously approved site plan, but a final plat has not yet been approved yet, and so this is a request for such a plat. This plat does meet city standards. Glad to answer any questions you have prior to consideration.
Okay, anything from commissioners on this topic? Anybody ask why it's called the Gridiron Edition? I did.
Well, I guess because the item after this seems to be, after this would have been,
I know it's different, completely different deal.
what's that?
Completely different deal. Yep. But, I mean, the reason it's called Gridiron is because there used to be a ball field there. Yep. Which I thought was kind of cute. But anyway, so anything else from commissioners? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat on 3E.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, I will entertain a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, consider and act upon a plat for Kelly Lane Commercial Edition, being a 1.9 acre tract of land located on the west side of Kelly Lane, north of Panther Parkway, in the city of Van Alstyne's extraterritorial jurisdiction, subject to conditions. Alex?
Thank you very much. Similarly to the previous item, there was a site plan that was approved late last year for 7-Eleven within the Mantua Mud. This is the corresponding final plat, which has not yet been approved or presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration. It lays out the easements and cross-access that for the plat and for the lot that corresponds to the approved site plan.
Okay, so this does not require a public hearing.
It does not require a
Okay,
public
very
hearing.
good. Anything from commissioners?
See a lot of activity over there. Already started construction?
No,
No? I just,
no, they just did the detention pond on the south end of it. But they're like ready to go.
yeah.
I do have something on that. I would like to make it a point of public record that I want to make sure, because in this thing that went before us previously, as well as city council, there was a lot of discussion about Kelly Lane going north, maintaining 2 lanes going north throughout that process, as well as a left turn lane, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so which means pushing the southbound portion of that well into that particular property, correct?
yes. The east side of this particular tract dedicates right-of-way for construction of Kelly Lane, which will be constructed
Right.
2 lanes on their property. Yes, sir.
That's fair, but I want to make sure that those two lanes are not going to encroach upon the two lanes going north or the turn lane. In other words, there's supposed to be a median divider. It needs to be further west. And I can't tell from that it meets that specifically.
The engineering staff does have plans for Kelly Lane currently under review. The two existing lanes of asphalt will remain as is, as two northbound lanes. There will be approximately 4-foot divide between the existing lanes and the two new concrete lanes that will be constructed as the future southbound lanes on this tract.
I just wanted to make sure that that's clear and understood and as part of the minutes, and we can make sure that that is noted. Any other items from commissioners on this topic? No, if not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Mike has a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Matt is seconding. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, at the chair's discretion, we're going to flip items G and H. So I want to do the reason for that is I want to do the public hearing before we make a recommendation to city council. So this is basically a two-part thing. So I want to do H first, if that's all right with everybody. Okay. Okay. So item H, consider and act upon a plat for J. Humphreys Center, Phase 1, being a 1.2 acre tract of land located on the northwest corner of Texana Street and Longbow Street.
Thank you very much. This is a request to merge two properties shown here as the Texan Wealth Properties LLC properties. The proposed replat would merge those two lots into one lot of record. The screenshot on the left does show the proposed plat, which is a replat, which is subject of public hearing. The next item on your agenda will be an associated site plan that lays out an office development on this property in concurrence with this proposed replat. I'd gladly answer any questions you have about the replat prior to the public hearing.
Is the developer in attendance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jonathan Hake, 131 South Tennessee, here representing the plat and mainly the site plan, which is the next item. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. None? Okay. Alex, refresh my memory, but it seems like I recall approving a Dollar Tree at that location. Was that not correct?
Yes, sir. There was a previously approved site plan for a Dollar Tree at that location, which has sometimes since been withdrawn and is now a void application.
Okay. Do we talk about, well, this is just the plat, so it doesn't get into the other yet, right?
No.
I have questions on that next one. All right, so this is basically just a replat, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there anything, and this does require a public hearing,
Yes, sir.
okay? So at this point, I will open the public hearing for this topic. Anybody from the public wish to address this at this time? Second call on the topic. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:53, or 6:53, I'm sorry. Ooh. Put us here another hour. So at this point, I'll open up for commissioners. No comments? Pretty straightforward. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve item 3H.
Okay, second? Okay, who did that? Jonathan? Okay. Mark's made the motion, Jonathan seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Item G, consider making a recommendation to City Council regarding approval of a site plan for Texas Wealth Management being a 1.2 acre tract of land located on the northwest corner of Texana Street and Longbow, subject to conditions. Do we have to do a public hearing on this?
No, sir.
Okay, very good.
This is a request for a site plan. The subject property is zoned planned development for commercial uses. The site plan lays out a single-story, 4,880 square foot office building with 56 parking spaces, as you can see here, providing cross-access to the west. as well as to the north, with a direct connection out onto Longbow. The site plan meets all the requirements of the plan development, and staff is recommending approval. We do have a condition for consideration before the Planning and Zoning Commission that the applicant endeavor to find a different location for the dumpster so that it's not as front and center and prominent when entering into the development. But with that, staff recommends approval, subject to that consideration.
Okay. Open it up to commissioners. Quiet tonight. Good grief. Okay, I have something. In addition to the dumpster relocation, which I am vehemently opposed to, what is going to be on the north side, northwest corner of that? Looks like a vacant field. This is a planned development. Is there something that should be considered there, or are we going to come back later to revise the planned development?
I'd like the applicant to elaborate that any new development would prompt new site plan.
Okay.
And when you refer to the vacant field, are you talking about the remaining property on this parcel? Okay, you can kind of see dashed in, there's a future building, a Phase 2 building. I think it's around 5,900 square foot that would go perpendicular to the Phase 1 building on the north, just to the north of it.
Any reason why we didn't include that in this planned development originally?
Well, they're all prepared to construct the one, and so we had the Phase 1 building and doing all the parking with Phase 1. And then the Phase 2 building, we'd come in the future when they were ready to do the Phase 2 building.
Do we have any elevations showing masonry, anything like that? Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything in the plan development addressing any of that? Okay, all right. You can talk about it if you want to. Please. Sure.
Hi, Sarah Marshall, 244 Stockton Drive, Van Alstyne. We are working to finalize the facade of the building, and we're pretty sure it's going to be stone on the bottom, maybe third half. That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any elevations to go by, and we don't have
Okay.
any.
So,
That's usually defined in the plan development, just so you know.
okay. So it will be about the bottom third stone, and then the rest of it stucco. We were gonna go with brick, but I think we're gonna go with stucco. It seems to be a better look. And then we'll have two main entrances with large arches of stone.
Okay.
And it will be split into two offices.
Anything else from commissioners? Okay. I would like to see, quite frankly, in the plan development, I would like to see specifics laid out as far as masonry, elevations, what that's going to look like before I would consider approving it. The dumpster being moved and put in a less conspicuous location with some screening on the dumpster so it's not visible to the public. That's my input. The building, I hesitate to approve a plan development when there's obviously a place for a building but no building, okay? Because then we're coming back and we're going to, normally I would like to see everything in the plan development at the beginning, okay?
And to that respect, I think we're fine. I mean, we're okay resubmitting a site plan showing the future building, as long as we can show it as a future Phase 2 building.
And that's
part of
fine.
Phase 1.
I think the big concern here, though, is in the plan development, we like to see landscaping, we like to see signs, we like to see
And we did submit landscaping with the,
I'd like to make a couple clarifying points.
Okay.
This is an existing PD. This is from the year 2000. So this is the site plan that demonstrates that the site layout meets the standards of the existing PD that's in place today.
For the Dollar Tree.
For the whole vast area, this subject property and everything surrounding is basically in Plan Development number 2, which is for the year 2000. And so this is part of that PD, and this site plan represents meeting all the standards of that particular PD. And that PD is older, it's void of certain standards, so to the extent that Ms. Marshall described, them doing masonry, it exceeds. To the extent that they provided parking, it exceeds. And then Jonathan took staff's advisement. There's not a requirement to do a preliminary site plan to show all future buildings. If an applicant wants to skip a preliminary site plan and just show the building that's proposed to be constructed, they can skip straight to the site plan process for development. So they were just taking mightily lead on that and not showing a future building that they don't necessarily have designed
Okay.
yet. So
Okay.
just to be clear, this is an existing PD. The PD is not proposing to be amended, and this is a document that just shows that those standards have been satisfied.
Okay.
So that means when the Dollar Tree voided that, it didn't void the PD.
Correct. No, Dollar Tree was operating under the PD. They voided, and now this building is operating under the same PD.
That makes sense.
Okay, any further discussion?
I should actually, I'll make one more point. The site plan is an opportunity to provide a recommendation to City Council. So the commission could vote to approve this, subject to addition of some landscaping or screening or whatever's the pleasure, and send those recommendations on to the City Council. And in the meantime, they would have an opportunity to try to address those. This is just for your understanding.
And that's fair. I'm not an elephant. I don't have specific memory of, I remember the Dollar Tree, but I don't remember specifics as far as masonry, and I know it looked pretty good from what I recall, but that was several years ago. So I would prefer to have something a little more definitive as far as a visual to where you can see what we're actually approving, instead of saying, okay, well, we're going to think about doing this, and we're thinking about doing that.
Right.
I'd like to have something a little more definitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I completely understand. So we were just told, submit this, the engineering packet, and then submit the architectural packet. So we've been fully enforced to get that complete. Our architect thinks it'll be about 3 more weeks till he has the working drawings and the whole thing. So we'll submit that.
Okay,
So we have a choice.
we can table it if you
Yeah,
want.
let's table it.
If they want, or
What's the percentage? I was trying to remember.
60%? Yeah, don't quote me, but that's a lot of the older PDs.
That's what I was trying to remember. I was trying to remember the specifics, and I can't.
And their PD stucco is considered a masonry, so
But
the
that's
brick,
an
the
out-
stone.
But that's an outdated,
But it's what's
It's,
enforced.
yes.
it's what's enforced at the time, but
Well,
it
but
is,
it's still enforced because they're not changing the PD.
right, I got it.
So, I mean,
And that's fair.
and if it meets the current PD, there's not a lot, no matter what they bring to us, there's not a lot that they can, it's not gonna change if it meets the requirements or not. You see what I'm saying? All it does is delay the development,
Well, I don't think it's,
because then they have to come back before planning and zoning before it goes to council. I think to expedite, as long as it meets the current PD, and we put in there that, they move the dumpster to a, less conspicuous location, subject to staff approval, give the staff the ability to make that approval, I think that would streamline the process. That's my 2 cents.
what about making sure there's a screening and for the dumpster as well as a gate, maybe?
I agree with that.
and we're currently proposing a dumpster screen wall with the gate on the
That's fine, I
current
just
plan.
want
Yeah.
to make sure when we're going to relocate the dumpster, I want to make sure that we have the same,
I think that
Language.
if we do that and then give the staff the authority to make that approval, That way they don't have to bring this back in front of us again with the new location of the dumpster.
Would you like to put that into a motion,
Sure.
sir?
I make a motion that we approve the site plan in item 3G, subject to the consideration that the dumpster is moved to a better location, or less conspicuous location with concealment, and allow that to be approved by staff. Is that good enough, Alex?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Approve that.
Second that?
I'll second that, excuse me, yes.
All right, so Matt made the motion and Mike seconded it. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. And we will now move to item I. Receive presentation from Hayden Family Capital and Catalyst Commercial Fraser Capital regarding prospective developments for properties respectively located in the following locations: east side of Old Highway 6 and Blythe Road, and northwest corner of US Highway 75 and Panther Parkway.
Thank you very much. This item is broken into two different presentations. You have two developers in attendance to provide information about their prospective developments, one of which you're more familiar with, and one of which most likely less familiar with. Just to recap, we've, I guess over the course of the last 9 months, settled into an opportunity to have these workshop-style presentations where we receive one-way information from a developer to become acquainted with them and their proposed development, and you provide an opportunity for the commission to learn about it prior to it going forward in a formal capacity. So I will start with Mr. Hayden, who you all are more than familiar with. I feel like I've probably put him through a little bit too much up into this point, and it probably does, as I said before the meeting, feels a little bit like Groundhog Day at this point. But Mr. Hayden's had an opportunity to present his development proposal to the Planning and Zoning Commission at least on one or more occasions, as well as to the City Council, and this also included a joint work session earlier this year. One of the things that's caused some of the longevity with this process is his development does include a municipal management district and an MMD, and so we've been trying to gain, to the extent that we possibly can, an understanding of all the complexities of such a district, being that the City of Van Alstyne currently does not have an in-city MMD, nor, to my knowledge, has even considered one. We've also been kind of working with our consultant with ZACTAX to refine pro formas based on some policy discussions that have taken place. And it's taken a little bit longer for our engineers to work with Mr. Hayden's team to get information related to some of the, I would foreseeably significant infrastructure considerations that would be involved in this development, being it's somewhat, it's not too close to the current proximity of our infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, and that sort of thing. And so essentially we've been kind of working on those things in the background. This evening, this is essentially the purpose behind this is to give the Planning and Zoning Commission another opportunity to hear about this project essentially from a land use standpoint, even though there's a lot of things related to sort of the legal government authority of MMD and infrastructure. I wanted to give the commission one last opportunity to look at this and share any thoughts related to the development from a land use perspective. And of course, that's the benefit of the Planning and Zoning Commission, looking at it from your perspective, have an opportunity to weigh it against considerations that you had through the comprehensive planning process and things we heard in the public domain through the various town halls we had. So from here, there's a couple different steps that'll take place. City staff, we have a meeting tomorrow actually with attorneys and engineers to talk about some of those other pieces and parts. Hopefully that'll get us to a point where there's enough comfort where Nick will be able to make his formal application to annex the property. submit a zoning package. I believe we've already got a draft of that, and put together a development agreement that includes terms related to the MMD. So a lot going on with this. And so just wanted to just share once again with you what the Wetzel Tract development is inclusive of, and then I'll turn it over to Nick for Sysful, I would go.
Back next month, can you just talk about what next will look like, so I don't screw it up?
Sure, yeah, and you put me on point in public, then there's no way I can walk it back. No, I'm just kidding. So what we'll do here, I mean, the plan that we've talked about all along is this is a last opportunity to share this development proposal. We'll try to finalize things on the engineering and MMD standpoint to the extent we can in the upcoming weeks, reviewing a development agreement, all those types of things. You'll submit an annexation zoning development agreement, and essentially we will lead, the whole process will be led with a true zoning public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Now, so we'll have a presentation tonight. We'll be reviewing the PD. If all things considered can be sort of buttoned up, we'll be back in front of you with a public hearing, zoning signs on the property, with a true plan development that includes a lot of the information you'll be exposed to this evening.
Okay, thank you.
And then following that, with the benefit of the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation on zoning, the annexation, the zoning, and a development agreement could go ahead to the City Council. So in theory, that's the procedure that we've tried to lay out ahead of us. So we're trying to be sensitive to Nick's timeline, his seller's timeline, but also sequence things properly so that the Planning and Zoning Commission has a proper opportunity to vet the proposal, and then the City Council has the benefit of all the information with background that's needed to make such an important decision for the city.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Yes, sir. This is the 236 acres. It is annexation eligible because of a 2-foot strip annexation that goes along Blythe Road and up Holda Highway 6. So although it's not contiguous to the main city limits, it does have contiguousness to the city limit. This doesn't really tell you much. This is the current land plan that shows lots that are inclusive of 50-foot wide, 60-foot wide, and 70-foot wide lots. I believe there's 742 lots. You can see a breakdown of the percentage of each lot type. There's a small open space table, and Nick has drafted some development and area regulations that would be affiliated with each of those lot types. So again, this, I don't want to understate it, but it's significant in that it does extend infrastructure, it does provide some density, and it does, like I said, come with an MMD. So essentially, I'd be glad to answer any questions, let Nick elaborate a bit more, but more than anything, just wanted to give the commission another opportunity to see this before it is presented to you in an official rezoning capacity.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Anything else? Nick, you're up.
Again, yeah, that's right, thank you. So, Alex, do they have the exhibit? Have they? Okay, no problem. So,
Well, it hadn't changed since the last meeting, correct?
no, well, so what we do have for next meeting was an actual PD ordinance that's going to be attached to the development agreement.
Okay.
So more detail. Where's that clicker, Alex? So you've seen this plan. This plan has not changed. 50s, 60s, we'll go to this page right here. So 50s, 60s, and 70s. On the right was just a table showing the proposed number of those, each individual lots. This is all in the PD ordinance. And really the PD ordinance is going to have a base zoning of SF 65, and then we'll detail, again, what's in these charts right here. It's got, again, we're going to have, it's similar to the Solera PD that was included in their development agreement with executive, estate, and signature home sites defined, again, based off of this chart. What's likely to happen, just so you're aware, is that the PD is going to say 742 lots like the plan does. If you notice, there's a line of 60-foot lots just north of the detention pond in the southwest corner. We'll probably not get those, but just in case, wanted to include it, so all the information's there. It'll probably end up being 733 lots, so the gross density is going to be, doesn't change much, but right around 3.10. Again, we could get those, but we're not that far into engineering because, again, as Alex talked, there's some complexities that are going along with the property after the development agreement is approved. The way an MMD works, again, this is just background information, doesn't necessarily have to do with planning, but it'll take about 8 months to get the MMD actually approved through the TCEQ. And then beyond that, currently the water CCN is with South Grayson Sud. And so the city and I will jointly go before South Grayson Sud to really try and force their hand because they've already somewhat rejected doing a swap of some sort or ceding over that CCN. So there's some kind of background complexities that means construction and further planning from my side probably won't really happen for another 8 to 12 months as far as spending engineering dollars and landscaping dollars and things like that because of that background information. Again, not necessarily planning related, but it just has to do with just when dollars are going to get spent. So 60% masonry's in here. Again, that's further defined, very similar to Solera. You'll see all this for the next meeting. Unfortunately, I should have printed this off so you had it. There's some pictures, architectural elements, amenity center definitions, screening definitions. I mean, pretty much a full PD ordinance that you'll have for next meeting. If you have actual questions, my hope was to kind of address further questions so that our next meeting goes smoothly as we continue to transition to get the development agreement approved in October and hopefully at the latest in November. So again, I know this is the same. If you have any kind of more specific questions, you don't have the PD in front of you, so it makes it a little bit more challenging, but happy to kind of read off of that and answer as much as I can. So.
Okay, anything from commissioners? Open up.
Yeah, just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about down there by that retention pond, losing some of the 60s?
I'm going to go back real quick. Yes, sir.
So is that because of the potential need to expand the size of that pond?
That's correct. We don't actually know how big that will end up being
Okay.
because we haven't done full engineering plans because of how far out we are from that, and costs will change and all those. So it's really be a waste of money from our perspective to not do it when we're closer to actual construction site plan and things like approval and things like that. But yes, that will likely be larger, and we will lose 9 of those lots.
So what's the trade-off on the percentage then? What does that do to the percentage? Because, you know, there's a certain percentage of 50s, certain percentage of 60s, certain percentage of 70s.
So we're defining in the PD, it'll say there'll be no less than 105 70s.
Okay.
So that percentage will stay, that will ultimately go up if we lose lots.
Okay.
And then the 60s, if we lose lots, that percentage will go down. And I suppose that the 50s will then also go up slightly. I don't know those exact numbers. It's only 9 60s that we lose. So it'll be a minimal, like for example, with the gross density, I think it goes from 3.13 to 3.09 by losing those 9 lots.
But we wouldn't go over the 742 number.
No, sir, it'd be less. Yeah.
Okay.
So the
So it'd be
50s, the 50s and 70s are really stagnant
Okay.
in the way the PD is written.
Okay. But we wouldn't lose any of the 70s.
No, none of the 70s. The 70s are the light blue lots.
Right.
So we wouldn't lose any of those, just the 60s
Okay.
in that location.
So can you go back to the last slide? Okay, so I think I already know the answer, but I'm just wanting to verify. So down the middle is a 4-lane divided, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. But that's gonna-
Maybe 6 lane, actually.
Pardon me?
I believe it actually is 6 lanes divided.
So but that's going to be the only in and out of this entire neighborhood out there on Highway 6.
There's no other access points. I do believe it. I mean, we'll get into that when we do preliminary site plan approval. It'll have to meet fire code, but I do believe the 3 access points, there's enough frontage to meet all fire requirements. But again, that won't get approved if it doesn't meet those when we get into the site plan approval.
You got one on the north side, one on the south side.
They're all on the west
And
side.
eventually, you know,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
right,
that's right.
right. Okay, anybody else?
So I mean, again, just to open up conversation, obviously the amenity center, you've seen some of those pictures already, but that's going to be a full, you know, pool, outdoor cabana, seating, things like that, amenity center. And then each of those pocket parks will have some sort of improvement, dog park, cabana, benches, seating, things like that. The bottom southeast pocket park, which I think I've already said this, but that'll be a pedestrian crossing only. And again, will be improved as well. Yes. Yes.
Trying to remember all of our.
Yes, so, let's see.
Only as far as the property extends.
Yeah, so the actual construction of the Blythe improvements and how that goes is still being discussed, especially in light of what's now happened. Because because of some of the moving parts with the MMD TERS concept and what is actually going to be a part of it, it helps to move when those dollars are deployed. And so Blythe is still in the deal when those exact constructions occur. We haven't defined it yet. That's part of what the meeting tomorrow is about. But that's still happening on Blythe. And then Highway 6, there will be some improvements as well along our boundary. And then, of course, extending water and sewer to the property and the swap of the water CCN.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I have a couple.
Yeah, please.
Can you go back to the plat layout?
This one?
Yeah. I noticed there's a lot of lots that have markings on them.
Yeah, so those are irregular. Again, this will get sorted out in the site plan approval process in the future, but those are most likely what will be variances of how the depth might be a little bit, maybe it's 118 instead of 120 because of curvature and things of that nature.
Okay. Also, I know Alex and you both have mentioned infrastructure and water with the SUD and things like that. So because of the distance away from the city proper, okay, how are you going to handle, that's a lot of water.
I think we're going to have to build a water tower on site.
Okay, that was where I was going with it. Where are you going to put that?
I don't know yet.
And how will that affect?
So, so far in our discussions, the size needed for a water tower is about half an acre. So we'll have to figure out, maybe take some floodplain, maybe lose a couple of lots and try and mitigate as much of that as we can. But as of right now, it's got to be on I believe it's the tallest portion or part of the tallest portion of the property. And so we're still working through those details.
Okay, now is that going to be part of the PD when you submit it to us?
Yeah. We'll look at making that revision and detailing exactly which lots and how many lots and things of that nature will be lost.
And will you have to have a sewer lift station?
No. This will have a spot for a lift station, but we're not that deep into the details, and it won't change the concept plan based on that. It doesn't take as much space.
What size?
I believe it's 1 mg or 0.7 to 1 mg. Again, we're having that meeting tomorrow, so that it's pretty preliminary at this point as far as how big that is. But again, it's only serving this number of lots at this point in time, so it doesn't have to be huge. But because there's no water infrastructure in this region at this point, that's where the water pressure, we've got to have enough water pressure for fire and things of that nature, so.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've paid for the city public utility, Tristan, to do the water study. We've got that in hand, and so we're discussing. The water's probably less of a discussion tomorrow. It's more for our engineers to figure out where on the site is the most efficient place to put it. And then the sewer route is going to be probably the primary discussion.
And you think you're going to be able to have all this by the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, sewers, really,
I mean, that's a lot of moving parts. Like Alex said, there's a lot of moving parts in there
Yeah,
trying to iron out before.
We've been, we already have some costs. I mean, a big part of why the cost portion has taken a little bit longer is because of Lynn's passing and the third-party engineer getting their hands around where everything actually is, because they're starting from scratch, and it wasn't, my understanding at least, is it wasn't all electronically available for them to digest quickly, so there's a lot of actual paper and driving that they're having to do to get their hands around, you know, what does capacity look like, how do you get there, what's the best route, things like that. So, and again, we'll have costs and route in the development agreement, because those are part of the MMD TERS cost discussions. Because of when construction's actually going to occur, I think we all know that those are going to be subject to change depending on what development happens over the next 12 to 15 months. But we've got to have something in there. And as a result of a big selling point from my perspective towards the city on the MMD, beyond opening up this region by acquiring the water CCN, because I can also force South Grayson Sud's hand through a longer 15-month process that I would love to avoid, which is why I want the city on my team, if you will. So that's a big part of the MMD, but also the MMD's slightly more efficient in reimbursement costs than a PID, and so it allows me to cover all of the offsite infrastructure when bringing it up to the site.
Okay. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
guys.
you.
Appreciate your time very much.
We're looking forward to a final PD.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Alex, you're up again.
And now a development that you're likely less familiar with. Again, this is a opportunity to meet the development team. The subject property for this one is located at the northwest corner of Panther Parkway and US 75. It's currently located within the city limits. The PD zoning is currently known as Remington Ridge. And so Catalyst Commercial and Fraser Capital here to share some information about their prospective development, which, much like Nick, you might anticipate a PD rezoning at some point in the not-too-distant future, but wanted to give an opportunity for them to share it in advance of that particular occurrence. So I'll turn it to whomever.
We don't have anything in our packet on this, do we? No. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman, Commission. So my name is Jason Claunch. I'm probably familiar to you. We worked on the comprehensive plan with PMI. So in conjunction with that, we've been working on kind of reimagining what Remington Bridge could look like, really to align that with the new comprehensive plan, which was recently adopted. So this is an existing property with an existing PD in place. Currently, it's Ordinance 596, which was adopted in 2007. And currently, the property is about 80 acres of single-family zoning, and the remaining 20 acres, kind of, I would say, on the frontage of 75 or east of the creek, is currently with a base under the PD with a base of C2. And so our goal would be basically to amend the existing ordinance and modify the zoning to accommodate essentially more commercial retail within the site. And I'll go through the details of that application, the proposed application. This is a current ordinance, so all C2 uses are allowed by right, including a number of other, what I would consider primarily general retail uses. And then the remaining, what we're calling Subdistrict B in the ordinance, or the other subdistrict, really allows about 411 single-family lots of 50-foot width. That was approved back in 2007. So, and this was the adopted concept plan. So you can see basically everything primarily east of the creek or along the frontage was commercial, and then you can see the lot layout that was approved for the single family. It did reserve some open space And it did have a 1 acre lot for a civic use or fire station that was reserved back in the day. This is again before Mantua. So we're proposing to revise the PD. Essentially, we'd like to create 3 character districts. We're going to propose to essentially keep the retail commercial along the frontage. We think that makes sense. And in the middle core, really to align with the comprehensive plan, in lieu of the single family would be, and I'll have an exhibit for this in a second, would be mixed use. And primarily, we would want to accommodate, obviously, regional retail. We can show the layout for that, but we also think the site could make sense for corporate, office, medical. I know that's a targeted industry by the EDC and some things that were laid out, and other uses that would work well and complementary to commercial. And then essentially, we would keep the single family. We would have about 28 acres on the far western side adjacent to Mantua, which is essentially work as a transition use between that and the mixed use tract. I can go back to these. This is the proposed concept plan. As you can see, the retail really is very similar to what was originally entitled. The single family, again, we would use that as a transition or a buffer between that and the mixed use. And then the mixed use core would essentially accommodate, we would envision the mixed use would accommodate on the south, likely regional commercial, but we do have corporate. The original PD did allow some urban residential. I know that was called for in the comprehensive plan. So we would think that there would be some urban residential as a transition, probably adjacent to the single family. And that the C2 base uses really are pretty consistent with what's currently entitled. So in summary, this essentially reduces the amount of single family. I'll go through the districts. But in the comprehensive plan, when we do the econometrics, obviously the regional commercial uses have a much higher productivity and much higher value for the city. We agree with that. It also has higher value to the ownership. And we think that, this being Panther Parkway and 75, this is a natural southern gateway for the city. If you look at both the city's thoroughfare plan and the county thoroughfare plan, Panther Parkway is a significant major east-west, and we think that obviously we would want to set this up for more of a mixed-use gateway. It just makes sense. And then again, with the 75 frontage being along the existing east-west arterial thoroughfare and the traffic volumes, we want to just set this up appropriately and set up the transitions to really accommodate more higher intensity commercial development that was essentially aligned with the comp plan. One of the things that we've been working with staff on the northern side of this property is the proposed connection to Cartwright, the extension of Cartwright. We think that east-west connection makes sense, at least to the service road. And so we'd like to work with staff to see a way to accommodate that connection as well. There's also a regional sewer trunk that runs through this track that needs to be dedicated, and so we've begun discussions with that and a development agreement and all the other kit of parts. But anyway, we think this makes sense. We're reducing the amount of higher density lots. We're proposing about 60 50s and another 60, 68, 65. So again, I think a much better proposal. And again, this opens up the site for something that I think is a whole lot more productive and suitable for a site at this location. This was not, for whatever reason, was not part of the TERS. I know, I guess all the 75 frontage properties were included in the TERS, and so we're working through staff. There's a lot of infrastructure to cross the creek. We've engineered that, so and we've got some costing associated with that, but obviously a little bit heavier lifting, transitioning some of this property from residential to commercial if we want to shift over on the other side of the creek, and so. We're coordinating that, and there'll likely be some discussions and agreement and co-participation in some of the heavy infrastructure, but we've just started that process.
And that would be on Cartwright as well, correct?
Possibly Cartwright as well. Obviously, this is a fairly small site, so we'll try to squeeze as much of it, out of it as we can, but we'll see what we can carry on the public side that would both support the development and any peripheral infrastructure that would be needed, but we do support that extension for sure. Ms. Muse is here with Winstead. We've papered what this would look like in a PD. We've shared that with staff. We don't have any comments yet, but we are ready to make a formal application fairly shortly.
Okay.
Going to side of Panther Park.
So as part of this process, there would be access management that would be required to be coordinated, but we don't have the full alignment, and we wouldn't necessarily be building all of Panther Parkway out. And if so, we would do that in phases. And again, that'd be a subject to discussion with staff. But
So back when you were showing some of
I missed the question, but
So when you were showing the commercial, it's got height 60 feet.
yeah, we talked to staff about the ladder truck and some limitations, so we're happy to review that and make those adjustments if needed. Yeah, or buy a ladder truck, yeah. Yeah. I was on a tour
Put the fire station in.
I was on a tour the other day. I did see a few for sale, so, but they're not cheap.
No, they're not.
This one's pretty straightforward, so we're reducing.
Comprehensive land use
Yeah.
plan.
I'd like to see more, I'd like to see more single family and a little less mixed use.
Yeah, but you've got so much single family going in right there.
No.
You've got, I mean, that's a good transition right there. again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially, you know, if you're looking at maybe.
Especially coming out of Mantua.
We've studied this at length with a number of anchors, and really, I think the line that's set on the single family is appropriate to accommodate the anchors to be able to face east to the 75.
Big box anchor?
A number of anchors, yes. So, and the depth on that works.
In the mixed use?
In the mixed use, yes. We definitely want to make sure that all C2 uses are allowed in mixed use. I would see that the two southern pods would be right for that, and obviously, if the market continues, then the northern pod of the mixed use could either be corporate or it could be medical, but it also could be an extension of the retail. We want to make sure that that stays flexible.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's going to be, like you said, it's going to,
Access to 75.
yeah, it's going to be, that intersection is going to be prime. It's the second prime real estate in all of Van Alstyne.
And that's the only corner that
Yeah,
is in Van Alstyne.
That's correct.
You know, the rest of it's in the.
That's
borough.
correct.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's a huge economic impact to the tax base. I would, you know, as much as I'd like to see that particular location.
This is-
City tax
Well,
base.
as long as it's retail, I mean, that's
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely.
If it's going to be a bunch of apartments, I got a problem with it. But if it's going to be retail and corporate big box, I mean, not necessarily big box, but, you know, anchors, with retail and tax base, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's well thought out.
Yeah.
Especially if he buys a ladder truck. Moving on.
Noted. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your
A
consideration.
ladder truck, two bridges.
Cartwright.
And then the bridge that crosses
Yeah.
75.
I've lost my notes, but anyway. We appreciate your consideration. Thank you. You bet.
Thank you for bringing
You
this
bet.
to us.
Of course. You bet.
All righty then. Alex, let's talk about the comprehensive plan.
I just have a brief update on where we are since our work session that we held on August 7th. So obviously received the feedback, and we have, the priority now is to focus on updating and retooling the numerous overlay districts, the historic district overlay, the residential overlay, as well as the community corridor overlay. And in addition to that, modifying the land use chart. And I won't necessarily go back into all the discussion points that we had on the 7th, but we're still with PMI and our sub-consultants still working on to draft amendments to ordinances that we can present back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. On August 25th, we do have a meeting with our attorneys to go, as we discussed, making modifications to overlay districts and land use rights and land uses within the area table. Needs some specific attention to how we go about doing that. And so we have a meeting scheduled for the 25th. And so we'll be wrapping up some draft amendments. We'll be making sure we're on solid legal footing as we move forward. And then we have a follow-up work session scheduled for September 2nd, where ideally we'll be able to present back to the commission essentially bones of a draft zoning ordinance amendment that we would then move forward with formal amendment and public notification. We do need to sequence in an opportunity to update the city council, as well as any identified stakeholders that we can consult with as we kind of move this forward, because we don't want this just to show up at a public hearing, and we want to be able to market this, present it, and share information proactively. And so essentially at this point in time, we're just working on what we discussed. And so until the 2nd, I remain open to any feedback that the commission wants to send my way. As I have updates available, I'll be emailing them to the commission, but essentially this is just a snapshot of where we are following our meeting on the 7th, and open to any thoughts or ideas or information that the commission may have.
Okay, commissioners?
I appreciate all the hard work you're putting into it.
It's a lot, but
One thing I would like to, when you're having your legal meeting on the 25th, I would like to make sure that we have discussion or an ordinance that lays out for future reference, or however you want to call it, that this an ordinance that specifically requires any PD, any zoning change, anything that comes to P and Z or council, that has to be some kind of process that runs through the comprehensive plan. Does that make sense?
yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, not to the nth degree, but I understand. I mean, it's critical that the Comp Plan 2035 is the lens through which amendments and changes are considered.
Is there an ordinance that we can draft that holds the P and Z and council accountable to that?
I think when it comes to the comp plan it's a visioning document. I mean,
No, it's not a legal binding document, I understand.
But from a policy standpoint, what you're saying is loud and clear, and we can certainly have intention statements in the zoning ordinance that reinforce that policy.
Okay.
And that's proper, and I think it's spoken to within the context of the plan itself, too.
I just wanted,
I almost think that, based on your idea, the thought of has to go through that plan. Something that gets proposed in that plan. Somebody that says, okay.
well, I mean, quite frankly, I mean, anything that comes before us, all I want to do is have another box. Yes or no. It checks the box, yes or no. And if it doesn't, why not? If it does, what part of it does, and that kind of thing. You're trying to get that fly too?
It might be easier to do that.
I just want to make sure that some way, some form or fashion, that this comprehensive plan has teeth into future meetings and everything else. And to the guide, because it is a guiding document, right? So as such, I just want to make sure that anything that comes before this body or the council, that box is checked. And if it's not, why not? And why does it make sense not to check the box? So I want to just make sure that we have that as a part of city policy.
Yeah, and I think just also to echo Mark's comments, there shouldn't be, unless something unforeseen happens, there shouldn't be a reason that the box isn't checked. It should be that the plan should be brought forward to be amended so that it can be checked in conjunction with any development proposals.
Okay. Just want it out there. All right, anything else? Okay, any further staff comments? Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have anything?
Thank you all for your service. Appreciate all the hard work. It's double duty, I know, getting the comp plan passed and then extending that into the ordinances. So thank you all very much.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, with that, it is 7:45 PM, and I consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Appreciate it.